Are you tired of being weighed down? Have you fallen asleep on your health? This is your wake up call with my dad, Keith, my husband, Kyle, and me, Ashley.
Good morning, everyone. It is day 74, and it is the day of the week that hopefully we all look forward to, but sometimes we dread. It's Thursday Truth. And Thursday Truth means we get to fess up about where we're at in our journey, and hopefully it's good news and not the bad news. So, how is it looking this morning? What was your weigh-in?
I'll do mine first because it's fairly simple. I'm flat about what I was last week.
All right.
As we talked about on an earlier podcast this week, I'm trying to do a little bit more weight training, a little less walking, a little less aerobic activity, and I may even put a little weight on here in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Hopefully I will.
Yeah.
A little bit of muscle, hopefully. But anyway, that's my Thursday Truth.
You know, for anybody who's just started listening to us recently, maybe you haven't listened to any earlier episodes, Kyle and I are very overweight, and so one of our main goals for this is to get healthy and get our weight down. Well, Daddy has most of his weight off already. Dad, do you want to share a little bit about that, about your high weight and how long it's taken to get it all off? Or
yeah, long story short, I probably lived at 380 pounds for 10 to 15 years while I was weightlifting and competing in powerlifting, that type of thing. My high weight was probably, 410, 420, somewhere in that range. Once I got that heavy, I didn't weigh a whole lot because it was kind of depressing, but I did carry a lot of muscle at that time.
Yeah, you did.
And I'm about 6'5". I've kind of shrunk a half an inch or an inch lately. I noticed that going to the doctors. I've been measured probably a half inch or an inch shorter than I used to be, but that's kind of interesting.
It is.
But anyway, I've spent most of my life pretty heavy, not necessarily roly-poly fat,
just heavy,
but heavy. I played ball between 280 and 320 pounds for a lot of years. So I've been heavy all my life, and I'm right around 270 pounds now.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I've had some health problems, and I'm trying to get my strength back. So that's kind of the deal right now, trying to get a little strength training going on.
With you talking about your stature, this reminds me of a story. I'm going to go ahead and tell y'all. It's not very, very relevant, but it's funny. So when I went to kindergarten, the school that I went to was built when there wasn't air conditioning. Okay, it was built in, I don't know when it was built, but there wasn't air conditioning, probably in the 50s or 60s. So later on, when they decided to put an air conditioning system in, they had to put it in the ceiling, and so the ceilings in this school are very low. And so I'm there for like my kindergarten orientation or something, and I will never forget this, y'all. Me and Mom and Dad are walking down the hallway, and this kid looks up at Daddy and goes, "Whoa, it's the Jolly Green Giant." I thought that was the funniest thing ever. It was the funniest thing ever. And I think the ceilings contributed to that. Also, Dad just being a big guy anyway, but I really think that's part of what made him seem even bigger than he was. And throughout being in elementary school, I always remember talking to my friends and then talking about how big and strong their daddies were and all this stuff. And then their dads would come to school and I'd be like, your dad is not strong and big like my dad. Anyway, that's just, I will never forget that. I thought that was the funniest thing. And then at the time, I didn't understand what they were saying because, my dad's my dad. Like, I don't know why they're saying that about him. I know, you don't realize how big your dad is till you start seeing other people's dads, and you're like, oh, well, yeah, he is a little different, isn't he? Anyway, I just thought of that story, wanted to tell y'all. But Kyle, you want to go next with your truth?
Yes, my Thursday truth is I am down to 371. So I am almost, I'm hoping in the next week or two I can break into 360s, which when Ashley and I got married 6 years ago, I was at 363, I think, something like that.
You're almost there.
So, almost there.
Cool.
So if I can get down to 361, I'll be at where we got, when we were married, I was at 360.
You're 10 pounds away.
10 pounds away.
Well, that's
and
so
then my next
crazy.
goal there is, my initial goal starting out was to lose 50 pounds because I wanted to break it into smaller amounts to make it a little bit more manageable. So at that point, I think I'm going to go, when I get down to 350, I'm going to work my way down to 325, and then 300, so I can just maintain those smaller goals to stay a little bit more focused.
Yeah. Well, we were talking recently, me and Ashley, how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of making those big goals, smaller goals, in order to make them more manageable. So, that's my goal, in the next few weeks is to get down to 350. So
I didn't realize you were that close to our wedding weight. I think that's awesome. I'm thinking I might bust out my wedding dress here in a little bit and see if it fits. I think that'll be because those were back in the days I wasn't getting on the scale because I just knew better. I didn't want to depress myself. So I feel like that would be a good gauge to see about where I'm at. But me and Kyle were standing in the kitchen the other night, and he gave me a hug, and our faces were close together.
Which hasn't happened in a long time.
Because, Kyle has a very big front. He has a big belly, and so when we hug, it's we've always had several inches of fat in between us, and I've got a gut too, so. I really noticed how far he in particular has gone down. I've lost some in my midsection, but he's lost a lot more in comparison. And it was like, whoa, this is different. We're actually closer than we usually are. So that was cool. Mm-hmm. It was a cool thing.
So, working down to 360, then get on down to 350, and then from there, I think once I get into the 200s, that's where I'm really going to have a hard time. I'm going to have to up my physical activity big time.
Yeah, we'll just have to work as we go.
Coming down. So,
I was very afraid for this week for me. I didn't get on the scale last week because I was out of town. And I did not want to get on a scale because I've made that mistake before. I've weighed in on a different scale and then it's messed up my consistency, and whether it weighed me lighter or heavier, it's usually discouraging in the long run. So I just decided not to weigh in. So when I got home, I stepped on the scale for the first time in a week. And I'm one of these people, I'll step on the scale probably every day to kind of gauge where I'm at. And it also helps me to figure out which foods or seasonings or things like that gets my weight up and down. That interests me. When do I hold more water, and how long does it take me to digest certain foods? That's interesting to me. So I do get on the scale almost every day. Anyway, so I hadn't been on it in a week, and I was 5 pounds up from my last weigh-in. And I wasn't freaking out too much about it. I figured it was mostly water weight. And I had eaten some more refined carbohydrates while I was out of town than I normally do. So I'm sure that contributed to it. But I didn't eat huge amounts of anything, so I knew it wasn't true fat. Maybe a pound or so, but not like 5 pounds. So I didn't know if I'd be able to get all that off before today, but I actually, I've been very tight on my diet this week, and I have been walking a lot this week, and since Monday. And I weighed in today 2 pounds lighter. So I actually lost 7 pounds of body weight in the last, 3.5 days.
Cool.
So I know it was all water. Otherwise that wouldn't have been possible. So
Yeah.
anyway, so that puts me down to 286, which means I think this is 28 pounds from where I started this time, from 315. And then I'm right there almost at 30 pounds lost. So that's exciting.
Cool.
And my heaviest weight was actually 330. So I'm almost 45 pounds down from the heaviest I've ever been, which is awesome. I'm trying really hard to not let the scale be the only indicator of my success, because it's not always going to say what I want it to say. Even on weeks I put a lot of work in, I don't think it's a very fair judge. I really wish it had 3 white lights and 3 red lights. I feel like, it needs to judge me on more than just... That's a powerlifting joke, if any of y'all get it. But, I really wish that it were a better judgment of my progress. But anyway, 2 pounds down. I'm not going to complain, especially when I was 5 pounds heavier a few days ago. So
Yeah.
that is my Thursday truth.
All right. Well, everybody, thanks for listening today. What's your Thursday truth? Share it with us on social media. You can find us at Our Heavy House on Instagram and Facebook. You can also check us out if you're listening to us on YouTube. Go ahead and hit the notification bell on our page so that you can get updates each and every day, as well as to subscribe to our channel. Also, go over and check us out on Apple iTunes. If you want to carry it with you and be portable, you can do that as well. And you can pick us up on iTunes podcasts. Hey, thanks again for listening, and we'll see you tomorrow.